Okay, everybody, welcome back to Flipping the Script with Suzanne. I am here with Kalani Hubbard, and this is part two of my conversation that I had with his wife, Stephanie. So we learned a lot about Pure Magic and their passion and how they got started with the industry or within the business, or how they launched their production company. But now we're going to talk to Kalani about his latest release, which is Sky Hoshi. So please welcome him to the show today. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to talk about movies with you.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. So give us a little bit of your background before we actually go into the conversation about Skyoshi. Where did you start your adventure in movie making? Or
Oh
how?
man. Yeah, well, as a kid, I was always making stuff with my parents' old little video camera. Would always do um, little short films with my friends, and short films then turned into skate videos. All my filming my friends getting hurt all the time at skate parks. Good times. And over the years, just always kept growing and learning, and got a job at a production house at a young age, and kept growing and learning and making. And long story short, jumped into doing narrative stuff. Been doing that for a while, and we launched Pure Magic Pictures about a year ago, and made my very first feature, Plunder Quest, which is an amazing, fun adventure movie. And that was such a fun ride to make that film, and it got a lot of like amazing critic reviews, which was very cool to see. And yeah, people really loved that movie, and I'm really excited about the next one, which is Sky Hoshi Anime Girl. And that one is just kind of a culmination of all the things that I've learned over making all the other movies and all the other things that I've done in my life, and kind of putting all of that together into this film. And so this is definitely my best work, the best thing I've done so far, and I'm very proud of it and very excited. It's a fantasy movie about an anime character who becomes real, falls out of her poster into our world, and then she goes missing from her anime, and then she has to find her way back home before it's destroyed. And so her world is turned upside down, and she falls into the life of a lovable nerd named Adam, and turns his life upside down as well. And so it's a really fun, it's a fun movie. It is a comedy, but it's a fantasy, and it has a lot of heart. And so there's a lot of really sweet moments in it too. So that was a lot of fun to kind of dive deeper into some of these really deep character moments. And so it's a great film. I think people are really going to love it.
Where did you get the idea?
Well, I had been watching a lot of anime, and I was like, and we were gearing up to make the next film. And I kind of, as somebody who likes to kind of work within things that are already like things that you already know you can do, right? So as an indie filmmaker, you can't write something that you can't really achieve. And so my thought was, well, we just recently became friends with somebody who owns a comic book store. And I was like, well,
Interesting.
okay,
Yeah.
that's a cool location. And so I was like, okay, well, I know we have a comic book store. I've been watching a lot of anime.
Hmm.
And then I was like, I think there's a cool idea here. And then Anime NYC, which is put on by Crunchyroll, the really big anime streaming platform, that was coming up. And so we were like, I wonder if we'd be able to film at Anime NYC. And so Stephanie had reached out to them, and they gave us approval to film there. And I was like, okay, I guess this movie, we kind of have to make this movie now. So and so you kind of starting with those kind of puzzle pieces, and just been watching a lot of anime, and I was like, this just kind of came up with the idea. I was like, this could be really cool. So
And how long
yeah,
is it?
movie's hour and 40.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. So it's
yeah,
like it's a feature for sure.
yeah. It's a
Yeah.
proper feature. Yeah,
It's a proper feature. Well,
yeah,
what would be considered an improper feature? I mean, that's kind of a interesting conversation to have.
yeah.
So did
Like
you write?
59 minutes. You're like,
Yeah, yeah, okay,
well.
okay. So did you write the script yourself, or did you team up with your wife to write it, or did you have another creative on the project with you to create the script?
I wrote it by myself, and it's always great. Stephanie is the best collaborator in the world because
Well, she is
She,
your wife, so you
yes,
chose
yeah,
accordingly.
exactly. She's the best. It's so fun to create with her because she understands me, of course, in a way nobody else does, and she understands my tone and my humor and just the intricacies of the way I like to tell stories and the way I like to write. And so she's always giving me great ideas, and so I'm always running my scripts past her, and a lot of times she really helps form what I write. And so yeah, I come up with the ideas and I write it, but she's definitely there like helping me refine along the way. And it's great because she's always giving me amazing ideas and amazing feedback that only helps push me in the direction that I want to go. Because sometimes, of course, collaborators, you can have somebody who it's like, oh, what if there was a spaceship and it was 10,000 explosions? I'm like, okay, well, that's not really the idea I'm going for. So, but it's great because anytime I'm writing something, she's always the perfect person to work with because she just knows me and knows my tone. And so, yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
work together like on everything. And same with her. I understand her style and the things that she loves to do. And so, yeah, we make a great team.
Yeah,
It's
you
great.
make a great team, but I think it's really important to make sure, even if it's if you're a creative team, not necessarily that you have to be married to your creative team, you just happen to be, which is phenomenal. But having individuals on your team that can see things differently than you, that
Hmm.
because it's kind of like you don't really want to marry somebody who is you. You want to marry somebody or be with somebody who balances you and brings something else to the dynamic of the relationship that allows
Hmm.
you to evolve as an individual and in this case as a creative. So it's kind of like having somebody that says, well, what about this? Well, what about the explosions? And you go, oh, no, 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 no. That's not really what I was thinking. But I
Right.
like the feeling of that. I like the concept. Let's change it a little bit. Maybe we can use that and do it in a different way. And
Hmm.
I think that's the magic of having a really strong collaborative creative team is that you're open to somebody seeing things different than you. So that does help to expand your perspective a bit and comes out with
Hmm.
something a little bit different. And you try to find that middle ground. I think it can also be challenging as a creative too, to not be, wait a minute, it's my way or the highway, or it's my vision, my baby. I only see it this way, which really can
Right.
shut down creativity as well. Because creativity is this living, breathing, energetic force that is not ours. And in my opinion, it's given to us. And when we can be really open to the potential of that expanding and looking differently, then we can create something far more magical than we could have even have fathomed on our own.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely where the magic happens, when you have two people who kind of workshop an idea together, you can have some really cool stuff that happens. So yeah. So I'm always running stuff by her and it's great. And vice versa.
That's great. So, what about the talent? How did you find your talent?
Yeah. So Olivia, she is the lead. She is Sky Hoshi herself. And we had worked with her um, on many projects in the past. Met her on a commercial that I did, I don't know, 6 years ago now. And we had a great time on set. She was super cool. And then we had her work on a different project and same thing. She was great and we had fun. And so it's like, okay, yeah, we should get you on one of these, narrative projects next time we do one. And so we did Plunder Quest. And so I had her, she played the um, Blue Mermaid. And that was the most iconic part of the movie where she slaps the lead character in the face really hard. And it's a great funny moment in the film. Um,
Not funny for the
and
guy
so,
being hit.
no, yeah, exactly. It was actually pretty funny on set. She slapped him a few times,
So it
and
wasn't like combat training hitting, like you learn how to hit. It was an actual real hit.
it was an actual slap. Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
well,
the
poor
funny thing
guy.
is, yeah, yeah, I know. He he was like, "Hey, just for camera, why don't you slap me for real a couple times?" And she's like,
Mm.
"Okay." And he was like, "Just surprise me," so I act surprised, because they were going to like do a fake slap, and then a real slap. Um, And so, I call action, and then she slaps him for real the first time, and he's like, "Oh god!" And then she slapped him for real a couple more times, and it was pretty funny. And Yeah, we all had a good laugh.
So
But anyway,
were you the guy that she slapped? Were you the
no,
character?
no, no, no.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Not me. No, the lead character in the movie is Thomas Waters is the lead character in the film, and yeah. So, anyways, so she was in Plunder Quest, and she did a great job, and it was just really fun to have her on set. And so we, when it was time to cast Sky Hoshi, I was like, okay, I'm gonna see if Olivia is down to do this part because I think she would just do such a killer job. And so, we asked her and she's like, yes, it sounds great. And so, yeah, it was awesome. We had already become friends at that point, and she hopped on board, and it was just like she killed it, knocked it out of the park. Her performance is just so phenomenal. It's it's a really tall order to play Sky Hoshi because there's so much going on with this character. She's an anime character, but she's also a real person, and she has to strike that balance and she is like a really cool, like badass character, but there's like this innocent side to her that comes out as well. And so there's so much complexity to her character. And Olivia just did such a good job bringing that to life, and really the sweet innocent moments, and then the moments where she's like goes into like battle mode, and then the moments where she has to be more of an anime character, and then a little bit more humanity, so there's so much. So great job, Olivia. It was awesome. She killed it. So anyways, we had worked together a lot, and she really understands my tone and what I was going for this film. And so it was just a really, really great collaboration with her. She had a lot of great ideas for her character as well. So yeah, so it's great working with her, and that's kind of how we met and how she became a part of the film. And then Hunter was actually my first time working with him, and it was funny because we cast him pretty close to filming because we had to just get going because Anime NYC was on the calendar, and you're like, well, here we go. We have a time frame. Normally, when you shoot a movie, you can have a little bit more of, oh, let's spend more time on doing this or that before we film. But this one had a date on the calendar that just happens. So you're like, okay, we got to be ready by this time.
But I think the independent industry is a little bit more like that anyways, because you've got you don't have that budget to be able to buy out something for a while and keep it locked down. You've got to be like work on their time frame, right? So if you're using a location, it's got to be based on their schedule. It's not like Hollywood can come in and say, well, we can't have a cartoon shop, we'll just build one.
Exactly.
So you really have to adhere to very tight schedules, and you've got to be flexible, and it's not an industry where you can't be rigid. It's got to be fluid, or it just doesn't work. So anyway, go ahead, back to your lead.
Well, I know that's exactly right. And so so poor Hunter, we were like, you're amazing, you're perfect. We found him, just a few days before filming, because we were really holding out for the right person. We didn't want to just cast anybody just because we had a time frame. So we were holding out till we found the right person, and thank God, luckily we did, and it was Hunter. And but it was so funny. We're like, you're amazing, and you're casted. Let's do this. And he's like, cool. So well, can I see the script? We're like, yeah, here's the script. Here's the script. We film in 2 days. He was like, oh, okay. So it was great. He was a good sport about it, kind of getting thrown into the movie so quickly. And he just did so good. It was so great to collaborate with him as well. And we became friends. And yeah, he's just such a really talented guy. He brought a lot of quirkiness to this character. And he brought a lot of just funny quirks and stuff to him. And his character has a lot of really funny, like quirky moments in the movie. And so I think Hunter really pulled that off, and he has a lot of sweet moments too. And so that was another one that his character really had to pull off, which I feel like Hunter really did a good job, where he kind of had to be this like very awkward, funny character, but then also have these really sweet moments too, really vulnerable, sweet moments that he was able to have with Sky as well. And so that was a tall order as well. He did a good job. So yeah.
So question for you then, as the creator of the show and the director and the main person,
Yeah.
How are you when it comes to working with talent and your script? Do you like them to be adhere to the word, or do you kind of hold it loosely and allow the actor to bring a lot of who they are into it? So if there's adjustments to the character that maybe feels more organic to them, you're fluid with that, or you're like, no, I really like it. It's written this way. I want it. I want to see it this way. How do you
Mhm.
approach that when you're working with your talent?
I definitely do my best to stick to script as much as I can, but if there's things that they want to do, I always explore it because
Hmm.
you never know what you can get. And so there's so many great moments in the film that are just things that Hunter brought or things that Olivia brought that were not,
Hmm.
verbatim on page. And yeah, so I'm always down to do that. And so a lot of times we'll try to nail the script pretty close. But they'll bring to me ideas and they'll be like, what if we said this, or what if we did this? And I always hear them out, and then I always give it a shot. And a lot of times that's what we use because they
Hmm.
bring just really great ideas to these characters. And so yeah, there's a lot of lines in the film and a lot of little moments that weren't necessarily on page that we ended up using because of that.
That's excellent. That's wonderful because I think it's really important. Me coming from the actor standpoint is when you can work with a director that says, you know what, I trusted you enough to cast you, and I trust you enough to bring something different to the role.
Right.
Because what you have in your head and in your heart and what you see visually isn't going to be the same thing that your talent sees. It's just not, it just doesn't work like that. So
Right.
when you've got a director or you have an actor that could be willing to be more flexible with the creative process, I think it just elevates the work tremendously
Right.
because there's a mutual trust. Like, I trust you that you wrote a great script and that you want me in this role, and I'll give you my best, and you trust me to elevate it, to bring it up a notch.
Right.
Hopefully bring it up. I mean, there might be times where someone gets cast and they're like, oh my gosh, that was a mistake. I hope that doesn't ever happen, but it does. It does. And so Sky Hoshi is released now, right? It's on your platform.
Actually, it's going to be coming out here pretty soon. So it's not out yet, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, it should be coming out very soon, May 26th
Oh,
now.
May 20th.
So
Okay, great. So
yeah.
then this podcast will be released because I know that we were trying to get all scheduling, and you're such a busy person and I'm busy, and
Yeah.
we were trying to get this scheduled, and I was like, oh, we didn't get it out there before it got released. But
Yeah. No,
yeah,
luckily we actually pushed the release by a couple weeks. So now it's May 26th. And so
perfect.
yeah.
And they can go on puremagic.com, right?
Yeah, so they could go to skyhoshi.com is probably the easiest way to find it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Skyhoshi, Skye, there's an E, HOSHI.com.
Okay. All
And
right.
then
Well,
you
all of
can,
that information will be in the blurb underneath the podcast.
oh,
So all the links will
perfect.
be there as well, and so
Love
that
it.
they can see all that. So, what is your next step now that Sky Hoshi is going to be released? Do you
Mhm.
already have another project in the works?
Yeah, so the next one is a movie called The Squatchers, and it is a adventure film about a group of friends who finally fulfill a childhood promise to go upstate and go Sasquatch hunting, and
Sasquatch. That's great.
things go horribly wrong, and it's a really great adventure film. So
So you have a
yeah,
very quirky comedic side to you.
yes, I
Yeah. Yeah.
do.
I love that. I love quirky comedy. I think it's
Yeah.
some people don't. I mean, it's interesting. Comedy is one of those. Okay, I'm going to back it up. Drama is kind of one of those. Drama is drama, right?
Right, right,
There's violence drama. There's emotional drama. There's all that variations of what drama is, and comedy
right.
has just as many. I like slapstick comedy. I like British comedy. I like. I don't like raunchy comedy. That I don't really care for that. I never find that to be
Mm,
too funny. But quirky comedy, I like that.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I love
it's mhm.
all sorts of comedies. Yeah, so it should be really fun. There's a lot of thriller adventure moments, but it's kind of my take on if the Goonies grew up. and
Oh, love
they
it.
still had a
Yes.
similar dynamic.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Now,
so
Goonies, you weren't around when Goonies came out. Were you? Were you a baby? No, you
it
couldn't have
came
been.
out. I believe it came out the year I was born. Actually, yeah.
Okay.
So I never, of course, didn't see it when I was born, but
Yeah.
I grew
But
up with it.
it's considered a cult classic.
Yes,
It
it
is.
is one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah.
And I always, I have two movies that I watch every time I make a movie. I watch The Goonies and I watch Back to the Future because those are
Okay.
my two all-time favorite films. And so if I can watch those and kind of infuse the spirit of the things from those movies that really make me want to go to the movies into my movies, then that's pretty cool. So I always watch them and I'm like, okay, cool. Like now let's make a movie. I'm in the right mindset.
So if I have talent, so you're out of New York, correct?
Hmm.
Okay. So if there's talent listening to this that are in the area, is there a way for them to reach out to you for auditions to cast in your projects?
Yeah,
How could they go about doing that?
absolutely. We love meeting new people, working with people. I mean, that's the kind of beauty of what we do is we're super approachable. So if you want to work with us, the easiest way you could do it is just find us on Instagram. It's just Pure Magic Pictures, and
Hmm.
send us a DM, and we'll talk. So, but yeah, it's so cool. I mean, we've had fans, literal fans of Pure Magic Pictures who have seen our movies and stuff reach out to us, and they've been in our late night show before, and we put them in stuff. It's fun,
Fun.
yeah. Why not? So that's kind of the beauty of what we're doing is we are really building a cool community of people
Right.
who of love movies and independent films and
Hmm.
that kind of want to be a little bit more involved. And so, uh, yeah, you can interact with us while we're making stuff. You can be in something if you want to
Hmm.
be. There's a lot of fun opportunities. So, yeah, you can reach out to us.
Yeah. And I think it's great when you can collaborate and create community and, you build your village of people. And so you pull upon that
Right.
village when you go to create your next project because, you know them, you like them, you trust them. And creatives are always looking for a way to do something else. So
Right.
when you're not filming, do you have any other creative things that you enjoy doing? You're probably always working.
Yeah. I work a lot.
I
Yes.
just was like, no, he probably doesn't have anything else. He probably just works.
Yeah. Yeah, just working mostly. I mean, writing, filming, editing is
Hmm.
basically I'm usually somewhere in those stages of
Right.
at all times. But I'm a musician and
Oh,
songwriter, and so I write a lot of music. And so that was something fun I like to bring to my movies as well as
yeah.
there's actually a lot of music in this movie in Skyhoshi that I wrote, and so
Okay.
um, it was really cool because there's actually a band in the movie, and so I wrote and recorded the songs that the band plays.
So you do
So
have something else.
yeah, I do. Yes,
You
yes.
do.
So
Yeah. Yeah, you do. So you have to.
yeah.
Everybody is a creative. Everybody.
Mhm.
My husband builds race cars. So that's creative. It's mechanical,
That's
but
cool.
he's always creating like how to, um, how do I fix this? How do I change that? So you
Right.
have to tap into the intuitive side of you and the creative side of you in order to progress forward in many things. So everybody is a creative.
Mhm.
And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast was so that other creators realize there's more than one way to be expressive.
Right.
And whether it's your music and your writing and your directing and the lighting and working with talent and directing talent and acting, it is all to serve one purpose, to tell a story.
Right.
To tell a story. So I'm excited to watch your journey and to see Pure Magic excel. Pure Magic is an independent film platform that you have created with your wife.
Mhm.
And you are going to be welcoming, from what she told me, you potentially will be welcoming in other independent films as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have this new series called Indie Spotlight, and that
Ah,
has been a
right.
really cool um, series because we've had a bunch of amazing artists come in and really premiere short films. And then what we do is we have a really cool behind the scenes with that director as well at the end of the short. And so it's been a really cool series. People have been really enjoying it, and we get to see some amazing stuff. And so yeah, that's been really cool. And so we've been kind of collaborating with people
Mhm.
on that, and we're always open to other things as well. So yeah, we're just kind of seeing how it goes, seeing who comes to show us some stuff.
Yeah, love it, love it. It's
Yeah,
the next generation of filmmakers to bring up the next generation. So I'm going to
yeah,
ask you a couple of questions, and then we'll call it a day.
sure.
What has been the greatest obstacle that you've had to overcome on not just Sky Hoshi, but the entire your whole vision that you had with Pure Magic in your films? What do you think has been your greatest challenge, obstacle?
I think the greatest challenge is just writing a story that, um, as a screenwriter, writing a story that you know you can achieve.
Mm,
Because that is something that you have to write something that's big and exciting and, worth going to the movies. But as an indie film, your options are kind of limited. And so you have to work with what you know you can get or what you have. And so that was one of the ideas behind Sky Hoshi was, well, I know I had a comic book store, and I know Anime NYC said yes. Okay, this is going to be a pretty big, cool movie now.
hmm
And so I think that was one of the biggest challenges for us. But I think the beauty in that is, um, you know, when you're kind of put in a box every now and then, it really breeds creativity, in a new way, and you come up with ideas and you come up with things that you would have never come up with if
hmm
you had unlimited resources. And so that has been a giant blessing, although it has been tricky sometimes to say, well, I guess we can't do X, Y, and Z because we just don't have the resources to do that. How can we tell a story using this or doing that? And a lot of times it's just way better. And then you come back and I've read scripts that I've written that you just come up with anything, um, without any restrictions in mind. You just kind of
hmm
create whatever you want on page. And then I've read other scripts like The Squatchers or like, Sky Hoshi, and you're like, these are just better because I had put myself in the box of what can I achieve with these resources.
hmm
And you realize you write stronger characters, you write cooler moments, you make things really significant that might not have been significant. And so, um yeah, it's just been a very, very, very amazing experience, even though it has been challenging at times to be put in a box with just resources of what independent film is. So
Right, right. You said something that came to me, which is when you're in that very constricted, or let's just say restricted, um, environment,
mhm,
it breeds innovation,
exactly, yeah.
and it also offers you an opportunity to be more character focused as opposed to environmental focused.
Right.
Right. So rather than, ooh, what a really cool setting. Look at those trees. Look at that amazing building. Look at that incredible park. Look at that store. It's like the environment is the story. But when you don't have that option, it's like, okay, we don't have all of that now around us. Now we
Mhm,
really got to focus on how do we make the environment of the character richer
right.
and far more interesting to act as a performer and more interesting to watch and yeah, I would imagine it would definitely cause more innovation. Like, how do we alter this, tweak this, so that we can create a very rich story within the limited environment?
Yeah.
So, my next question to you now is: what has been, if you could give anybody a piece of advice
Mhm,
that is listening to this, and they are a creative in whatever aspect it might be,
mhm.
writers, it could be anything, what would you recommend, or what would be your piece of advice?
I would say don't wait for tomorrow. to create and do it today. Just get started. Don't be intimidated by making something, because that's how you get better and that's how you grow. And so wherever you are in your creative journey, just go make stuff, and then make more stuff, and then keep making stuff, and have fun while doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And don't stress yourself out trying to make it perfect, but enjoy the process.
Mm-hmm.
And just go make it, and make it with all of your heart.
Right. Be willing to suck for a moment.
Yeah. It's the only way to get better.
It's it. Know? It's it.
I have made some short films in the past that I'm like, oh, I can't watch those. Those are just, those aren't that great.
Yeah.
But I'm very proud of the movies that I've made. And that's, you got to make some things you don't like sometimes.
That is true. That is true. It's interesting. I look back at some of the footage of things that I did 30 years ago when I was like, oh man, I was all that 30 years ago. I was, I was young and I was just this vibrant actress and I was so good. And I went back and watched them. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm so glad that I've evolved since then.
Yes.
But it is that even when I wrote my very first book, it was, the first time when I wrote my first book, my house was broken into and the computer was stolen that had my book in it, but I had a portion of it on a thumb drive. So when I got a second computer and I put the book back into the computer, which gave me, and then dealing with everything else, I went back and I reread it and I was like, oh, I need to change this. It literally life altered the book because of that experience. Wild. So that's what our art is too. It's write something, just write it. Because I've got multiple things written that I've been sitting now on a computer for a year or so, but they're started to come back in going, oh, wait a minute, this occurred in my life. Ooh, that would be a rich experience to add to that character on that play. Or that's a really rich experience to add to the character in the film that I wrote. So it's okay if you're not doing anything with it. If you're going to create something, it doesn't mean that you have to do anything with it. Just create it, whether it's written, even if it's a little video for yourself, just put it out there. Maybe you'll do something with it. Maybe you won't. But you have to feed the creative monster. Exactly. Otherwise, it goes dormant, and that's no fun.
Yeah, something that I do is every now and then I'll do a thing called Song a Day. And what I'll do is I'll say, okay, for this week, I'm going to write, record, and just make a song once a day. And I only have, like 2 or 3 hours or something that I set aside to do it. And so it's like in like 2 or 3 hours, I'm going to just like make a song. And I'll do that every now and then, and I'll do it for about a week. And so anytime I do my little Song a Day sessions, it's great, because you just have to make something and you can't leave till it's done. And sometimes the songs suck. Other times the songs are pretty cool. And you're like, wow. And you look back at it and you're like, actually, there's some good stuff in there. There's some other stuff that I'm like, I could have done better, but but there's some other stuff you're like, that's actually, those are some good ideas in there. And so you just got to just keep practicing, keep getting better. And I don't release them. I don't show them to anybody. It's just, I just make it for fun to just get better and enjoy it, So you don't have to show the world everything that you make. Like you're saying, you don't have to just put it out there, but you could if you wanted to. But just make stuff, enjoy it. And some of it might suck and some of it might be amazing.
Most of it probably will be just messy. Yeah. But there's always gold in there. Always. There is. One day I get downloads of bizarre characters that pop into my head and they start having like these really weird conversations with each other. And then this is my entertainment when I'm driving. And then it was last year. As I was having this conversation with my characters in my head in my car, talking out loud, one developed a British accent. I was like, oh, well, she's really interesting. And then she had a monologue. And so when I got home, I was so inspired that I took my camera and I wanted to test out my new mic. So I was like, well, let's put her on camera. So I took it out to my property, which I've got 3 acres, found like a nestle of trees because I've got hundreds and hundreds of trees. And I just put down the camera and plugged in my mic. And I did it just so I could test out the sound of my mic. And I had this little mini monologue of this British woman, in the woods.
That's great.
And I ended up posting it because it just
Nice.
made me laugh. And I was like, my microphone sounds really good.
That's great.
But what ended up happening was this really quirky, oddball British woman in the woods homeschooling her daughter and giving her life lessons about getting married, which was not good life lessons. And what was really interesting is that I think I got like a couple of hundred hits on it. And people were like, I'd like to know what she's going to do next.
That's great.
Yeah. So even telling that story again makes me go, oh, I need to do that again because
Yeah.
it was fun. And it
Yeah.
wasn't to market myself. It wasn't there to make money. It was there to entertain me, which happened to entertain a lot of other people. And that's what we're here to do anyway. So we have to feel our art. We have to know it, honor it, trust it, do it for ourselves. But doing it for ourselves, not in an egoic way, like look at me, but to do it to feed our soul. And when we do that, it shines outward and it will serve humanity for sure. Kalani, I loved having you. It was great to listen about Sky Hoshi and about Pure Magic and your process. And is there any final words that you want to share before we turn this one off?
Well, I'm just so excited for people to see this movie. And if you want to check it out, you can go to skyhoshi.com and you can get a ticket to the digital premiere. And I'm very excited about that because you can get a digital premiere ticket, which we're doing a live stream with the cast and the crew of the movie. So you can actually watch the movie with us, with me, with Stephanie, with Sky Hoshi, all of us. And we're going to do a little like interactive thing at the end of the film. So it's going to be a fun little exclusive moment. So I'm excited for people to kind of snag a ticket, come watch it. And the fun part is after the movie's done, we're going to send you a link to actually own the film as well. So you just can watch it again. So it's like going to the theater and then they hand you the Blu-ray on the way out. You know?
Right.
It's pretty cool.
Are you going to put this into independent film festivals? Have you thought about that?
I'm sure we'll probably do a few at some point. Yeah, we usually do. Plunder Quest and Lonely Darling has won a few festivals, which has been cool. So yeah, at some point we'll probably do the Sky Hoshi Festival run.
Awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, and then there's also a lot of fun things you can get too on the site with a ticket. So there's we're actually making a manga, which is like a cool comic of her story. So it tells a completely different story from the movie, but it's something that people are mentioning in the movie a lot. So it kind of sheds a lot of light on that. And it's like a really, really fun, cool thing. So you can get that and a lot of other fun stuff. So check it out. Right. I'm excited for people to see it.
And if anybody's an independent filmmaker, they can reach out to you as well to see if they can get an indie spotlight.
Yeah, exactly. Just send us a message on Instagram at Pure Magic Pictures.
Excellent. So, thank you so much for being here, Kalani. Say hi to your wife, Stephanie, for me.
Yes.
And I look forward to watching and seeing what you guys come up with next.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks again for listening to Flipping the Script with Suzanne. And check out all the links for Pure Magic Pictures and for Kalani Hubbard and for Sky Hoshi. So thanks again, and we'll be seeing you all soon.